Hello everyone. Now I want to teach you how to create an annualized cash flow, and to do that we need to learn a new Excel function in two ways. So the first part of this function, I'm going to teach you the SUMIFS formula. And what that does is that it will add up a range of numbers given certain criteria. So for example, in this one where I took the annual rent schedule and I put a 1 and a 2 next to them. I'm going to create a condition that adds up all the rent if this column is equal to 1. So type in SUMIFS. The first part of this formula is to give the criteria range. So this is where you're choosing what has to match. Then the criteria, which has to be in quotation, so equal to and that's very important, the ampersand 1, and then the sum range. Now, as you can see, if I look here and look at all of the rents where column G is equal to 1, I get 265 and 265. And that's the basics of SUMIFS, and then I'm going to show you SUMIFS, which is equally important. Now, what SUMIFS allows you to do is to use 2 or more criteria. So if I do SUMIFS, now you see there's 2 here, and I select the second one. Take the sum range over here, the same criteria range. Now, as you can see, I added new labels. So I have 1, 2, and 3. So this one, I'm going to say I only want the sum if the number in this column is greater than 1. Let's write the ampersand. And then now we pick a new criteria range. It's going to be the same one in this case. And I want that second piece of criteria to be less than 3. Now, it gives me 179, right? So let's look up all the numbers that have a 2 next to it. It's right here. And you can see 179. Continuing with this lesson, I'm going to show you a practical application of SUMIFS. So this is where I'm going to put our annual lease model, and I'm going to start by linking F12 to the lease commencement date. Apologies for that. And I'm going to use the EO month function to get the end of the year. Now, the way this is going to work is you have to use 11 months instead of 12 months. I know a year is 12 months, but what we're really doing is going to December 1st, 2020, and then going to the end of that month. So now that we have those two, I'm going to do another eDate formula to get to the following year and copy this over. And now we have our lease formula going out to 2029. Now, we're going to use a SUMIFS formula that should be pretty straightforward. But first I need to quickly add the year label. So we have year 1 there, plus 1. Now, this formula is going to be SUMIFS, and we're going to go on to the monthly lease modeling page. So the sum range is going to be the base rent and I'm going to hit F4 3 times to lock the columns. I want the rows to be flexible so I can copy it down, or sorry, to be dynamic. Now I'm going to select my criteria range, and for that one I'm going to lock everything and then set my criteria, which is going to be which is going to be equal to, then the and sign, the year that we're in, and that's going to be dynamic. Make sure everything flows correctly, and as you can see, we get annual numbers that match our lease model. Now, because I created the formula in a way where I can just copy and paste it, I am just going to copy and paste everything down. And let me just make sure. Apparently I did something wrong. Ah, yes. Need to lock the row here. And then I can do it. There we go. And I'm going to get rid of any rows that have zeros. And as a check, what we'll do to make sure it's correct, take the sum of the total net rental income in the annual year, the annual cash flow, and the sum of the total net rental income here. And as you can see, we get the same number and they match. When doing the annual cash flow, the last thing we want to do is also get a total number, not just a per square foot number. So take total, multiply it by the tenant's square footage. It's very typical, given the high cost of leasing commissions and tenant improvements in office and retail leasing, to see a negative number in the first year when the landlord has to pay out commissions, free rent, and tenant improvements.